Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. I am Pastor Nick, and this is another edition of Marketplace Monday. I'm excited to have everybody here. I'm still excited from yesterday's church service. So if you see me smiling, I'm thinking about some strongholds I tore down this morning. I hope you tore some down. I hope you thought about some. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're here on Marketplace Monday. Last week we talked a lot about process and how important it is to document and implement and think about process in your business. In other words, a detailed, in church we call it SOPs, right? Standard operating procedure. You do this, you put this out, you check that, you turn this off, it's a documented, I call it a documented expectation map. Is kind of what I call it. It's a documented, it's a document that literally itemizes and documents everything that needs to be done for whatever you're doing to be successful, right? So it's really understanding the process. Now today, what I want to do is I want to go one step further. So I want to talk today about why small businesses. There's a couple of reasons why small businesses fail, but today I want to talk about why small businesses struggle to scale, which is one of the most um, important things that's overlooked when people that are going into small businesses start them, right? So we need to understand, number one, when you start a business, even though you have the best intentions, the best ideas, everything seems great, growth is not automatic. We need to understand that. Growth is not automatic. Scaling a business requires systems. Scaling a business requires the ability to delegate. Scaling a business requires capital discipline, right? You got to be disciplined with your money. Scaling a business requires you being having maturity and leadership. A lot of people don't understand like the church and, I'm here cleaning toilets, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. No, sometimes the church and serving in the church can really develop you in certain areas and prepare you for things that the world are going to throw at you. And a lot of times people in the church avoid growing while they're serving. And then they get into the world and they realize, man, if I would have just did this, learn how to lead in ministry of helps, if I would have learned how to organize this or better do that, it would really help me today in my job, right? So sometimes digging in church can really better prepare us. But let's forget about that for a minute. Let's say we're down the road or we're making a decision to go into our business now, right? We got to think about scale. We got to think about scale. So again, what I want to talk about is why so many businesses hit the ceiling, right? They grow, they hustle, they get busy, but they never scale. And what do you mean by that, Pastor? But if they're growing, if they're hustling, if they're busy, then they're scaling, right? No. Scaling is not about working harder. Scaling a business is about building structure that multiplies effort. This is one of the things I'm doing this entire year on with the church. I'm building and developing systems that's going to help us scale the church, right? You got to have that. Write this down. Point number one, and put it in the chat, somebody. Growth is not the same as scale. Growth is not the same as scale. Growth means more revenue. Growth means more customers. Growth means, watch this, more work. Growth means more revenue. Growth means more customers. Growth means more work. Scale means revenue increases. Revenue increases faster than expenses. Revenue increases faster than expenses, right? Systems absorb demand. Systems absorb demand. Margins are protected. You know, Kim Duper, a young lady who was part of our church for a long time, her business, KJ, I forget, I think it's KJ Mortgage Consulting. I'm not sure the exact name, but that's exactly what her whole business does. It teaches real estate agents how to better process paperwork. Why does that matter? Because now systems can absorb the demand of your real estate agency getting busier. And what does that mean? Well, according to Deloitte, companies that fail to scale often lack operational maturity, not demand. So we got to be able to operate our business. We got to be able to grow our business. Let me break it down to the ridiculous. If you started a barbecue business and you have people coming in, they want ribs, they want ribs, they want ribs, but you don't have a system in place to ensure that you're going to order the ribs, and then a system in place to ensure the ribs are going to be delivered on the day they're supposed to be delivered, and then a system in place that says, what do I do if they're not delivered on that day? These are all systems, right? Growth adds pressure. Write this down. Scale adds capacity. When you have systems in place, when you have structure in place, the pressure that comes from growth, right? That's what scale handles because you're ready for it. You're prepared for it. Okay? Write down point number 2. The one-man band ceiling. Well, most businesses that start their business, most people that start a small business, they never sit down and plan for the business to operate without them. They never build a business model with the business to operate without them. I think about my wife's pie business. Nobody could make the pie but my wife, the pie mix. She was the one that did that. So guess what? If she was sick, she didn't come to work, no pies got made. There was no scale thinking at the time. We were young. We were just starting. It was her first business. And she did great. I mean, really, really great. But we didn't know these things now. If we had somebody teaching us this, her pie business would probably be nationwide right now, right? The one-man band ceiling is the biggest scale killer, right? It's called founder control, the person who starts the business. How do you know when that is the case in your business? Every decision flows through one person. Every decision flows through one person. No delegation exists. No documented process exists. That's the one-man band. Every time something happens, the company stalls. My wife and I are getting ready to go out of the country, right? We're going to have a meeting on Tuesday with our leadership team. Our holy, and everybody's going to have their things that they do. And the church is just going to continue to run. And there, if this comes up, where do we go? If that comes up, what do we do? That's how it should be. We have SOPs. Research and scaling models frequently discuss what the Harvard Business Review has to say about it. And it emphasizes that sustainable growth requires structured delegation and defined operational rhythms. Let me say that again. When you read Harvard, when you're studying their business reviews about scaling businesses, growing businesses, the bottom line to sustainable growth, bottom line, structured delegation and defined operational rhythm. You cannot scale what only you can do. Write that down. You cannot scale what only you can do. It don't work. It'll never happen. Why do you think why at the church, why do you think we're in the Go Gospel right now? We're teaching everybody how to take the gospel to the world. Anybody who wants to, right? We got to scale. Point number 3, write this down. Systems plus people plus capital discipline. Write that down. Systems plus people plus capital discipline. That's how you scale. Scaling requires repeatable systems, trustworthy delegation, and financial discipline. That's what it takes to scale. You got to have repeatable systems, things that can be. This is why AI is going to change so many businesses. Think about it. With AI, you're not going to have to tell somebody, put 1/3 of a cup in the mix. The robot's going to do it exactly. The robot's back's not going to get sore. The robot's not going to been out drinking all night. The robot's not going to get tired. So exactly 1/4 of a cup is going to go into that mix. It's a repeatable, consistent system. All your systems, when you're thinking about starting a business, figure out ways that you can make things repeatable, not just dependent upon one person. But you do, point number 2, have to have trustworthy delegation. When my wife and I go, we listen. Lakeisha, Leroy, Harry, Alta, Dean, Aaron, we got trustworthy, Tarsila, Latifa, we got trustworthy leaders. Donovan we got people that we can trust. Do you have people in your organization you can trust? You got to have trustworthy delegation. And then lastly, you got to have financial discipline. Man, if you're just out spending all the money, you're never going to grow. You're never going to invest back into your business. If expenses scale faster than revenue, stress comes. If expenses scale faster than revenue, stress comes. So you can't get there neither. So you got to have the money discipline side. And understand this, scale is not hustle. People think scale, people think growth has something to do with how you hustle, how hard you work, how hard you go at it. Write this down. Put this in the chat. Scaling is architecture. Scaling is architecture. What do you mean, Pastor? Scaling is a blueprint. Scaling is a plan. Scaling is documentation. Scaling is having a source to go to know what to do when you don't know what to do. Woo. Let me say that again. Scaling is having a blueprint, a document that tells you what to do when you don't know what to do. Right? So if you want to build something that lasts, stop asking, how do I work harder? And start asking, how do I build capacity? How do I work harder? No. How do I build capacity? How do Leroy has junk luggers? How do we expand the capacity to do more jobs? Man, we had a record day. We did 4 jobs in a day. Okay, that's good. How do we do 12? How do we do 12? How do we do 24? What did it take you to do 4? Now, how do you scale that? Right? How do I build capacity? That needs to be your question. All right. Now, listen, next week, here's what I want to talk about. If a business can't run without you, so we're talking about scale, we're talking about getting out of being a one-man band. I want to talk about if your business can't run without you, it's not a business. Let me say that again. If your business can't run without you, it's not a business. It's a hobby. Nothing wrong with a hobby, but it's not a business. Stop calling yourself the CEO of a hobby. Okay? So let's talk about scale. Let's talk about process. But next week, let's talk about not being the one-man band. How do you shift that mindset? Remember, we talked a lot in church yesterday about tearing down strongholds. A lot of that stuff is mindset. So we're going to talk about that next week. Listen, I love you. I love you. I love you. Till next Monday, Pastor Nick saying, enjoy life.